Look at a globe, and the bottom usually just looks like a blank white void. But to really grasp the physical scale of Antarctica, you have to picture taking the entire United States and Mexico, combining them and freezing them solid. It is a profoundly hostile place, the single coldest, windiest, and driest desert on the planet. The ice sheet is a creeping, heavy blanket up to 3 kilometers deep, bearing down with unimaginable weight on the real bedrock below. If we could somehow run a massive X-ray over the bottom of the Earth and strip away that frozen top layer, the white void would completely disappear. That frozen surface functions as a mask, concealing an ancient, highly active world, holding secrets that scientists and governments are only just beginning to uncover. This map shows the raw, exposed topography of the Antarctic bedrock. Right down the middle, a massive range called the Transantarctic Mountains physically cleaves the continent into 2 distinct halves. Over in the eastern half, the terrain gets even more complex. These are the Gamburtsev Mountains. They rival the European Alps in height, yet their jagged peaks are completely swallowed by at least 600 meters of solid ice. Since human eyes have never actually seen these mountains, geologists map them using planes equipped with specialized radar. By firing pulses of radio energy through the ice and measuring how long it takes to bounce back, they slowly trace the hidden ridges and valleys. And those highs are matched by incredible lows. Cut into this same buried bedrock is Denman Canyon, plunging 3.5 kilometers below sea level. It is the deepest terrestrial canyon known on Earth. Even stranger, this subterranean landscape contains liquid water. There's a vast network of nearly 400 lakes trapped in the dark. The largest, Lake Vostok, holds more liquid water than Lake Michigan. Teams of scientists have drilled down for years just to reach the pristine water sealed inside. There's also raw thermal heat pumping for the bedrock. This is Mount Erebus, an actively erupting volcano sitting right in the middle of the frozen wasteland. It churns out boiling magma and vents so much heat that it hollows out localized, balmy ice caves nearby. Beneath the static, dead ice sheet lies a geographically diverse, thermally active, and entirely living world. To understand how this dynamic landscape got buried, we have to rewind about 100 million years. Back then, Antarctica was physically attached to South America and Australia as part of a massive supercontinent called Gondwana. Because it was tethered closer to the equator in a warmer global climate, the Antarctic surface was unrecognizable. It was a thriving ecosystem full of dense, humid forests, flowing river systems, and roaming populations of dinosaurs. We know this because the physical proof is quite literally stamped into the rocks. Researchers pulling up sediment from beneath the ice find petrified wood, ancient pollen, and the preserved impressions of fern leaves. Today, climatologists extract cylinders of ice miles long to act as a historical archive. By examining tiny bubbles of ancient atmosphere trapped inside these layers, they can track exactly how the temperature dropped over millions of years. This map illustrates the specific geological event that triggered the freeze. As tectonic plates shifted and Antarctica broke away from South America, the Antarctic circumpolar current formed an unbroken ring of freezing water, acting as a physical wall that blocks warm equatorial currents from reaching the coast. Cut off from the planet's ambient heat, the snow piled up year after year without melting, eventually compressing into the 3-kilometer ice sheet that transformed a vibrant ecosystem into a perfectly preserved, locked time capsule. For centuries, the humans who did venture near this bolt kept their discovery secret. Early seal hunters quietly mapped the outer islands, keeping their exact routes confidential to maximize their profits from the local resources. When formalized national expeditions finally pushed inward during the early 1900s, the environment violently rejected attempts at human conquest. The extreme cold and shifting pack ice shattered wooden hulls and claimed the lives of explorers trying to plant their nation's flags. But as aviation and motorized transport advanced after World War I, governments realized the continent was conquerable. This kicked off a frantic, aggressive scramble among global powers to stake physical claims on the ice. To prevent a full-scale war over a frozen desert, the world agreed to a compromise. The 1959 Antarctic Treaty officially banned all military presence and commercial mining, dedicating the entire landmass exclusively to cooperative scientific research. That treaty created a fragile, temporary peace that relies on the ice remaining unbreachable and the resources beneath it staying out of reach. This graphic reveals exactly why that truce is fracturing. Estimates suggest there are 511 billion barrels of untapped oil sitting beneath the Antarctic ice, a volume that actually dwarfs the total known reserves of Saudi Arabia. And there is a literal deadline approaching. The strict ban on resource extraction written into the Antarctic Treaty is scheduled for its very first major international review in the year 2048. Recognizing this, major global powers are heavily leveraging the treaty's allowance for scientific research. Facilities like McMurdo Station operate as sprawling, industrialized logistics hubs, anchoring firm territorial footholds under the guise of study. Simultaneously, rising global temperatures are doing the physical digging for them. As the massive ice shelves recede and thin, the protective 3-kilometer shield over those oil reserves is melting away, making these reserves physically accessible. Antarctica has evolved into a silent, high-stakes battleground where the world's superpowers are already quietly maneuvering for control of the resources buried deep beneath the ice.